Shabbat Shalom, everybody. If you have a Siddur, we're on page 10, and if you don't have a Siddur, they'll be on the seats near or around you, and we have them in the back. Page 10. Hinei ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Let's turn to page 341. Lo Yisagoy. We're going to start with two letters, A and O. Two letters and two notes. A, O, O, A, O, O, A. Let's keep doing that together, a little louder. A, beautiful. Last time together. Hey, oh, oh, hey, lo yisagoy. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Last time.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm Rabbi Paul Kipnis with Rabbi Lana and Cantor Kyle. We welcome you here to Shabbat services here at Congregational Orami. All of you who are here with us in the sanctuary and those who are streaming in with us via the live stream. Thank you to Live Control and to Jacob Bronstein for making sure we can reach everybody wherever you are. We are here tonight on a Shabbat looking for shalom, for some peace. We are here remembering the 1,400 souls that were brutally murdered 30 days ago, just over 30 days ago during Sheloshim. We're now in the Sheloshim. We are here because of the rising anti-Semitism that is shaking many of us to our cores. We are here because we know that when it feels so hard, we want to be with community to help us through the sad times, communally, for our people, for our nation, for our world, for ourselves. And so we will touch on all of these realities. Sometimes not enough. We're only here so long, but I want to remind everybody We have a fantastic class about the Israeli and Palestinian narratives and the void between them that Rabbi Lana is teaching on Wednesday nights, and you can it's in person and online, and you can come if you haven't already. And in all of our programs, in the religious school, in Men's Night Out, in other programs, we are talking about this, and we as your clergy are always available to talk, for support, to think things through. No matter how old you are, how young you are, what place you come from to try to understand this. That's what we've been doing, I think, pretty much 24/7 for the last month. And we will continue to do, because that's what a community does. Let's begin Shabbat by... at the end of Shabbat, we will light candles, but as we begin, at the beginning of Shabbat, we'll light candles. At the end, we'll make Kiddush. But Rabbi Evan Schultz, a rabbi back east, said, the best way to describe how I feel right now is that there is broken glass in my Shabbat Kiddush cup. And yet, it does not mean I will not still taste the sweetness tonight as I sing songs of hope and peace. On this, the anniversary of Kristallnacht, we remember and we still taste the sweetness of being together with community. So let's bring light into this space by lighting Shabbat candles. We're on page 2. Please join us as we sing.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
We will now do moments of holiness and beauty, a newer tradition here at Congregation ORME. Cantor Kyle brought it to us and with us. It's been a week, a challenging week for some. It's also been a week and weeks where there's also moments of goodness and praise and thanks. So, Shehechianu moment. What's something that happened in this last week, ideally, that you want to give thanks to? Turn to someone ideally you don't know, or someone who you didn't walk into the room with, and share that Shehechianu moment, and then on page 344, we'll sing Shehechianu. Shehachianu is on page 344. Page 344.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך המבורך לעולם and we'll turn to page 34 as Viviana will lead us in singing Shema. And listen.
Listen to Shabbat Shalom. Tali Versano, an Israeli woman, wrote this week the following words. When I'm drowning, I need no description of the water, no its color, nor its depth, for I feel it up to my neck. I have only one request. Do not stop describing what it's like to be on the land. We all want to be on the safe land, but instead the water is getting deeper and deeper every single day. And so it's really difficult to lift up our necks and see the land. But yet we have to believe that it is there, and we will get there. On October 7th, our world have changed, a point of no return, a fracture that will be forever remembered and will be design both our history and our future going forward. The loss is too great to bear, and so is the mourning. In Jewish tradition, the mourning process has 4 periods. The first one is called the aninut, which is the time between the death of a loved one and until we bury them. And it's truly hard to believe that there are over 300 families in Israel that are still today, 30 plus days after, are in a state of aninut because the bodies of their loved ones have not been found yet. The second one is the Shiva, which starts right after the funeral, and traditionally Shiva means 7, lasts for 7 mourning days of period. 7 days of mourning period. The third one is Sheloshim, which literally means 30. It's already not as intense as the Shiva, but still it has many different traditions that we observe during that time. In Israel, traditionally, for the 30th, we also go to the cemetery and pay our respect to the loved one that we buried. So this week we marked the Sheloshim, the 30th. And it's not getting easier. And we're still mourning. The last one is Shana, which means a year, usually observed by parents who lost their children or by children that lost their parents. Unfortunately, I think that in our case, it not only will be a Shana, not only will be a year, but it will be years until any of us will be able to comprehend the great loss of October 7th and the one that continues ever since. We've lit 7 candles. I wish we had 1,400, and actually by now it's already way more than 1,400. But it's symbolic, and it's in our colors, because we remember. So I would like to share the words of the Yizkor, of remembrance, to put it close on our heart as we move forward with our Shabbat service. May God remember the souls of his heroic children, the fighters of the Israel Defense Forces, police forces, and so many peaceful civilians who fell in the war of Simchat Torah, in defensive, retaliative, and security actions, and during the fulfillment of their duty, including the souls of the underground fighters and brigades who fought in the national struggle, all those whose life was brutally taken, and all who sacrificed their lives for the sake of the State of Israel and its citizens.
We're going to transition into the Amidah, which can be found on page 48. We'll rise for this. And I want to point out before we jump into it, if we turn to page 50, oh, sorry, you can still rise. Simon didn't say sit down. On page 50, if you were at services last week, you'll remember that we are adding seasonal insertions. And what that means is if you look on page 50, 3 lines down, it says winter and summer in italics, and we're going to be adding these words into the Amidah. And just so we can get used to them, we're just going to read them. We won't add a melody, but after we say Rav Lehoshia, the third line, we're going to read together Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem. So let's go back to page 48, and we'll begin with our Nigun. Yai lai, yai lai, lai la lai, yai lai, lai la lai, yai lai, lai la lai, yai lai, yai lai, lai la lai, yai lai, lai 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 lai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Ha'akol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי יאי לי 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 יאי לי לי לי. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי לי לי. Page 52. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי li li li. Take a few moments for your own silent prayer, silent meditation. When you're finished, you can be seated and we'll join together on page 60 for a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים
Earlier this week, on Monday evening, when it was actually the 30 days for the massacre of October 7th, we partnered with the Stephen Wise Temple and with a group called Unacceptable here in Los Angeles, and we held a ceremony together at Stephen Wise, and some of us were there together. And we did what we usually do. We read poems and we prayed and we sang. But we also did something that we don't usually do. We invited two women, a mother and a daughter, Batya and Rotem Cholin, members of Kibur Kfar Aza, which is right on the border with the Gaza Strip, who lost 62 members of their community, and 18 of which were abducted by the Hamas. And not only that they read name after name after name after name, but each of them shared her own personal story. And every single one of us who was in the room, I think it dawned on us that it doesn't matter how much you read, how much you're listening to the news, which clearly is painful already, but until that moment that you actually meet someone that experienced that horrible, horrible Shabbat morning firsthand, it's really difficult to fully understand it and comprehend. So we couldn't invite somebody who is in town right now to come and share. So I asked one of my friends. His name is Avi Dabush. He's a member of Kibbutz Nirim, which is also very, very close to the border with Gaza Strip. I really wanted to Zoom him, but then we decided we will do services at 6:30 p.m., which makes 4:30 or something like that a.m. on a Shabbat morning. So I wouldn't dare to ask him to come and Zoom, but I did dare to ask for him to record himself. It's not a professional recording. It's someone who survived the massacre, but he lost his home, at least for the time being, and is currently staying in a small hotel room in the city of Eilat, together with 4 teenage children and his wife in one hotel room. Avi is a rabbinical student. He will be ordained a year from now from the Shalom Hartman Institute, where I was ordained almost 3 years ago. And he's also a CEO of an incredible, important organization called Rabbis for Human Rights, which was my professional home until I came here. And he's an amazing human. So he said yes to my request and just did a very simple thing in his very small hotel room in Eilat that he's sharing with his teenage children and wife. He found 10 quiet minutes and just recorded himself firsthand. So we will feel a little bit from what he and his family were feeling on that Shabbat morning. So please bear with me for 1 minute. I will set it up.
Hello everyone and Shabbat Shalom. My dear friend and colleague Rabbi Lana asked me to say a few words about my experience, actually our experience on the horrible and Black Sabbath in 7th of October. My name is Avi Dabush. I grew up in Ashkelon, and I came to the Gaza area. Actually, Ashkelon is of course also in Gaza area, but in 2008 I went with my family to establish our home in Bor Hail, Kibbutz Bor Hail. It's near Sderot. And after that I lived for a few years in Sderot, and in the last year I live in Irim. So I have few perspectives of this region, and I really love it. I still really love it and connect with it very much. It's an open area. It's an area of, from one hand, development towns with a lot of immigrants and Mizrahi-oriented people, especially in Sderot. It's from Morocco, in the establishment of Sderot, and a lot of kibbutzim and moshavim, rural areas on the border and a few kilometers from Gaza. So in the last year we are living in our new home with our 4 children. My wife have 2 children, and I have 2 boys. And me and my wife, we were with her children in this Saturday. It started on around 6:30 with a lot of sirens. Tseva Adom. We have this siren of red light, red color. And then we rushed into the shelter. And of course, we really know what to do, and we woke up her children, her son, 12 years old, and her daughter, 15 years old, and the dog, Naga, also came into the shelter. But then after a few minutes, we started to hear voices of weapons inside the kibbutz. I ran away. I ran out of the shelter and closed all the electric windows and shut the door and locked the door. And we were in silent in the shelter and locked the shelter as far as we can. And then in a few minutes we heard those commands in Arabic beside our window, and we understood that there are terrorists inside, Hamas soldiers inside the kibbutz. We actually didn't know a lot, but we thought, that could happen. It's very bad, but that could happen. In 10, 15, 20 minutes, the army will come and rush them out. but of course that wasn't the reality. For several hours they moved freely in the kibbutz, burn houses, burn cars, kill people that they could kill. Some of them through the door of the shelters. Some of them that went outside in their houses, like a father and his daughter that moved to the shelter, and they killed them through the window, and also kidnapped. Totally in Nirim, it was 5 people that got murdered and 5 people kidnapped. We were something like 8 hours with no army, no IDF. After that, the IDF came and moved from house to house, and then we were again 4 more hours in our shelter, and then they moved us to a big shelter inside, in the center of the kibbutz. Still a lot of fighting with terrorists all around the kibbutz and on the fence. And only on a Sunday afternoon, we had something like 5-10 minutes to rush to our home, take whatever we can, and moved with buses to Eilat. Of course, unfortunately, I must say that we have so much luck and so many nisim, miracles that happened to us. Our neighbors in Nir Oz suffered much more than 30 people murdered, and now 71 are kidnapped in Gaza. Since then, we moved from Memorial Days. Now we're starting the memorial for 30 days to Shiva, funerals, a lot of youth, our children, going from a funeral to a funeral and to Shiva and to memorial ceremonies. And also we are part of the campaign to bring back our friends, our children, our mothers. In Nirim, it's a mother about 80 years old and her son about 50. A couple, actually a very good close friend of ours, around 35, a man and his wife, and also one guest that came to be with us in the kibbutz holiday that was on a Friday night, and she was also kidnapped. And we are struggling and pushing forward this campaign in Eilat right now. We are in Eilat. We are thinking about the next step. We won't be able to get again to our houses. Now they are talking about a year or more than that. We have severe infrastructure that ruined, severe houses, something like 65 houses that was burned or hit very, very much by the attack, and also after that with rockets. It's very nearby. Nirim, it's something like 1.5 kilometers from Khan Yunis. So again, it's terrible. People, we were hopeless. We didn't know what to do. So it's kind of a break in whatever we were taught about Zionism, about being a shelter for Jews, about our strength. Of course, the IDF, we are all part of it, but now it breaks. We really hope that something good will come from this terrible war. Unfortunately, I can see what is happening on Gaza, and also feel terrible about the children that are killed there and their families and so on. We need to establish flourishing and peaceful times. And
So what I think actually happened is that while he was recording, the internet got cut, and he had a few more minutes, he told me, but it didn't go through. So he just shared with me, and I will fill in. So Avi is now dedicated 100% to bring the hostages back, and he's one of the leaders of the campaign. First of all, if you want to say something to Avi, please email me. And I really, really hope that I'll get to see him and give him a big hug next week when I'm going to be there. And I'll share your words with him. And because he is now, and so many others are dedicated to do whatever in their power to bring back 239 hostages, men, women, children, elderly. There are many, many prayers there. There are many, many prayers that are being written for this moment to bring back the hostages, to protect our soldiers, to find words to this pain that we don't know how to express. So I would like us also to dedicate a few minutes in thinking about the hostages. I also want to say, in Israel, there are posters of the hostages all over the country, everywhere, and every single person is personally connected to them. There are also many synagogues all over this country that are hanging flyers and photographs. And on one hand, I feel like I really want to be at the front of that battle. I personally have 2 people that I know and love dearly who are in this horrible group of 239 hostages. But then also on the other hand, we have a Hebrew school here. We have over 200 children that are coming here every single week. And we want to protect them and shelter them and continue fighting. So we don't have posters here, at least up until now. And I actually think it's the right thing. My personal children don't know that this is happening, and they are not here tonight because I knew that we're going to be talking about them. So instead of showing posters and pictures that you can find, it's online all the time and in other places, or reading words that were written, I want to share a video with you that I received first and for all from my dear friend Gail, and then I saw it in many, many other places. And it's actually not an imitation of anything. It's actually a real, beautiful, artistic project that is happening right now in Jerusalem on the municipality square. They are streaming 240 beams of light all the way to the sky. And the pictures of the hostages are in between them, as you'll see in a minute. And a very famous Israeli singer, Miri Mesika, is singing, actually, in English, "Bring Them Home." So let it be our prayer for the return of the hostages tonight and our tribute for this cause.
I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming, and the blood will dry underneath my nails, and the wind will rise up to fill my sails, so you can't doubt and you can hate, but I know no matter what it takes, I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home, let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they're fighting for my sake. I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming. far away from where I belong, but it's always darkest before the dawn, and you can't dance, and you can't hate, but I know no matter what it takes, I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kids awaits. They are fighting for my sins. I'm coming home, coming home. Tell the world I'm coming. I'm coming home, coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they're fighting for my sake. I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home.
Roll it back in a minute. We want to pray for healing of our heart, for healing of our soul, for healing of humanity, for healing of our world, and for healing of all the people who so desperately need healing of body and healing of the soul. If you want to share special names with us of people you are thinking of tonight, please do that, and we will pray for all of them together. So we are praying Misha Berach for all who are in need, for all of us.
Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
when we planned this service a week or two ago, that was before Paul Kessler was killed. When we planned this a week or so ago, that was before what felt like it was coming closer and closer and closer exploded in ways that shook us even more. It's not that it used to be over there, because we all have relatives or friends, or we all have family members, all of Israel, who we connect to in one way or another. And some of us have family who live there. And we lost the two nieces of one of our congregants in that massacre. And then we saw this anti-Semitism start to bubble up. And we couldn't quite figure out what was going on. And then it started to burst forth, shaking us. And then all over it started exploding. And all those arguments we had about the difference between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism started to fall apart, because the language of Jew and Israel became mixed, not just on college campuses, but in protests, online, and more. Yes, there can be a difference between the two, but in practicality, it's become very, very small. In Los Angeles this week, a Jewish man, not Los Angeles, around the corner from here, a Jewish man, Paul Kessler, died after confrontation with a pro-Palestinian protester at a rally. Hit in the head, he fell down, brain bleed, and he died. Ruled a homicide. The sheriffs are still working, investigating, trying to figure out what happened. And our hearts break, and we hold on to our anger, and we try to be patient as we await the investigation. And then a brawl broke out down in LA, outside of the Museum of Tolerance, where they were screening the footage from Hamas, footage from the Hamas massacre of Israeli civilians. And we hear from our kids in school and our kids on college campuses, and see it written on the buildings and houses all over this city and this state and this country. And we ask, how do we make sense of this? How do we endure this? How do we go on? A story that will be unsatisfying. There was a king looking for something to make him happy when he was so sad, and to make him sad when he was too happy. For months and months he searched, until a market vendor helped his advisor by giving him a ring for the king. Inside was inscribed 3 words, Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass. The advisor brought it to the king to see if it fit the bill. And the king indeed said, yes, this is what I was looking for. It helped to embrace moments of simcha, of joy, holding on tightly and recognizing that these are but moments in time and they will pass. And alternatively, in times of deep sorrow and sadness, it would remind him, Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass. Gosh, I love that story. Gosh, it gives me no comfort now. Rabbi Ali Fishman, director of our Camp Newman in Santa Rosa, referring to this story, writes that this story does not mean that this time will pass with light. Yes, everyone, or me too, are finding ways of fortifying our security. It is costing us in peace of mind, and it is costing us budgetarily, but we do it because security is so important. We each are making decisions about how we advocate on behalf of Israel in ways that take into account our own safety and the safety of our community, because we saw at that rally what can happen so quickly. And we see the virulence and the hate at these rallies around the country. We are finding ways also to give ourselves care while working through collective tragedy, through collective heartbreak and sadness and anger and grief. Our journey through this moment is so filled with questions. I wish we weren't Jews, because then we'd be satisfied finding answers. But to be a Jew is to ask questions and more questions, and not getting the answers, but struggling with the why. Our congregant Malka Zif, in a text conversation, one of many the clergy have had with people all week, all month, said, "I'm feeling a little drashy." Drash is interpreting. And so I was thinking how interesting it is that this all began on Simchat Torah, that time when we unroll the Torah. It has made the unraveling of this narrative so interesting. Like at the beginning, creation, and today, and throughout the generations, we ask, when did creation begin, and how did it all begin, and who started it? Same questions we're asking about this rising anti-Semitism, this hate of the Jews. Then, like Noah and Naamah, husband and wife, we are finding ourselves faced with a seemingly impossible situation, a hopeless situation, filled with so much evil. I use that word purposefully, evil. And like God, we are wondering, is this the time that we're going to see a reset? Or is this a time of refreshing? And can we just get to the end of the chapter to know what happens? And may it be good. And now this week we're reading Chayei Sarah, the Torah portion that opens with Sarah's death. Possibly from the shock of last week's near sacrifice of her son in Vayera. She almost lost her kid. Others did. And according to the Midrash, it killed her. I wonder whether peace and humanity is something we've wanted for so long, and that we are at the precipice of a next step if we're willing to sacrifice what we thought we had to do for what we do need to do. We recognize sadness and pain, how much we sacrifice, how much we've lost, and we wonder, can we ever regain hope or peace of mind or possibility? One of the greatest gifts Judaism gives to us, or two of them, are Yizkor and Tikva. Memory and hope. Someone said to me, how long will we be suffering and holding on to this reality, this loss, this pain, this fear, this anger, this worry? And I quoted something from the internet. We Jews, we're still eating cardboard bread for 7 days because of what Pharaoh did to us all those years ago. We laugh, but it's only funny because, in a sense, it's truth. We hold on to what's happened to us because we know we've seen it. And as much as we wanted to deny it over these years, we're seeing elements of it again. We know how to behave during tragedy, or we know that how we behave during tragedy will role model for our young people how we as a group value one another and our community and the state of Israel and humanitarianism and self-care. Now is the time to dig deep, to show our children and ourselves that compassionate humanitarianism, to be a Jew means we can hold on to multiple truths at once. We can be heartbroken, devastated for the death, the loss of our people, for the tragedy, the horror, the heinous acts of evil that were perpetrated upon our land and our people. And we can be heartbroken too for the Palestinians who are suffering Some will say because of what Israel is doing. I will say because of what Hamas has brought onto them. We can be worried and scared also with this rising anti-Semitism, horrified at what happened to Paul Kessler, whose participation in a protest in support of Israel, in opposition not to the Palestinians but to Hamas, led to his death. We can also be patient as we await those results of the full investigation and then judge how to react once those come through. We can be distraught and deeply disturbed that some of our people have started removing their mezuzahs, ceasing to put up Hanukkah decorations, that big blow-up menorah on the front lawn, ceasing to wear their Jewish stars, or a yarmulke as they leave shul or drive to it. I say someone make a whole bunch of mezuzot and give them out. And let's all ask our neighbors in those areas to put them up, like happened when people wore a Jewish star, to say there is no differentiation. Or let's buy hundreds of those blow-up menorahs and ask our neighbors, our Christian neighbors, to put them up on their lawns, to stand with us. We can be curious as we explore the terms that are used in protests and on social media that denigrate both Jews and Israel, that by their very use or intentional misuse suggest or even call for, or subtly do both, the removal and destruction of the only Jewish state in the world, that call its birth an abortion, an abortion of what should have happened. And we can get trained, and we must get trained, because none of us know enough. And our children don't, and our college students don't. So we can be trained with Stand With Us or with AIPAC, with Zioness or with J Street, with the American Jewish Committee or with Project Shema or with any of these other organizations that are teaching Jews how to understand the conflict and its history, to understand anti-Semitism and its morphing history, to understand this moment. They are much more educated than even the best of us. And it's time we learn. When you leave, maybe you'll take, I'll bring these outside, these sheets from the Jewish Community Relations Council up in the Bay, recognizing problematic rhetoric. It talks about the problems with the terms "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," or the Intifada, long live the Intifada, or Israel is an apartheid state, or 75 years of occupation or settler colonialism, or charges of genocide or ethnic cleansing, or Israel's response is disproportionate. You won't find anyone who can critique Israel better than Jews or Israeli Jews, and I can do it with the best of them. But we must be careful to blame ourselves, because what happened on that day was not a result of what happened. There was plenty of money going into that area to create Paris on the Mediterranean. And certain people made choices to go in a different direction. We must educate ourselves, turning back to something from the olden days. It's called a book. A book is like a web page, but with pages. Here are some books you should get and read. Letters to My Palestinian Neighbor by Yossi Klein Halevi. People Like Dead Jews by Dara Horn. I'm reading that now. Israel, A Simple Guide to the Most Misunderstood Country on Earth by Noah Tishby. Books that will open our eyes, will make us simultaneously comfortable and so uncomfortable, as all good education should. And when Rabbi Lana gets back, we'll start our Israel book reading group, and you'll be able to discuss even as you read. We must take seriously Hamas's calls for the death of Israel and the death of Jews. We learn that when people call that out, they mean it. We must take seriously what our children are mistaught in schools, our young people are mistaught in college campuses, our people are facing in the street. We must report every incident to the school and college leadership, to the police, the sheriffs, and the FBI calmly but firmly, respectfully, but also demanding action. We must build and rebuild coalitions to help create opportunities for more education and more understanding, with groups that make us uncomfortable. On the progressive side, still. We must keep showing up, because that's where relationship building meets opportunity. Because if we are not at the table, things will happen that we will not see and hear about until it's too late. Because we have those relationships in the interfaith community, we had Christian clergy with us 3 days after the massacre at our gathering here at Orami. Because we have relationships with the Muslim imam, we received a letter, rabbis all over the valley, from him and his leadership just after Paul Kessler died, I think 1 or 2 days. It said in part, "Dear rabbis, the Islamic Center of Conejo Valley Community is heartbroken by the passing of Mr. Paul Kessler. While we did not know him personally, we are profoundly devastated by his passing and cannot even imagine the loss and grief being felt by his family, his friends, and the broader Jewish community. We are very saddened by this tragedy, standing in unity with our interfaith community of Ventura County to seek justice for all. We stand firmly against any form of aggression or violence aimed at anyone, regardless of their background or faith." Some of us are thinking, well, they didn't use this word or that word. By the way, he condemned Hamas in a previous communication. If you're seeing things that are missing, see the bravery and courage instead here. A Muslim cleric stood up quickly, spoke out, and said his heart breaks. We are not yet at the end of this. We do not know where this is going. Gam ze ya'avor, let this pass soon, is a prayer. But we don't know what will happen. So we protest against hate by bringing more love into the world. We show our strength by continuing to thrive and be strong for our Israeli family, our Jewish community, this world. We are mindful of our surroundings and protect ourselves from harm's way, knowing that this in and of itself is a form of pikuach nefesh, a way to care for ourselves. And we gather in community. We need community more than we have ever before. When you come to temple, bring friends. When you go on learning, bring friends. Jews and Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, the secular, anyone. But especially your Jewish friends. Bring them home. Yehuda Kurtzer, president of the Shalom Hartman Institute in Jerusalem, speaks for many of us when he wrote, "I've never in my life danced so intensely, in every minute, between a kind of moral clarity and certainty that I've never felt before about a set of issues I've devoted my life to thinking about, and then a deep essential confusion and uncertainty about this impossible reality in which we are living. It's like wandering into a mirrored funhouse with an extraordinarily detailed map. And the one thing that is carrying me is that I see throughout Jewish life a desperate seeking of community and wisdom, crowds of people seeking clarity and understanding, and a sense of connectivity with fellow travelers that is encouraging and emboldening. I don't know how you all are doing. It's hard to ask people when you see them. But I'll say for myself that I'm hanging by a thread. And that thread is a lot of you. This war will not end tomorrow, and it will get more brutal before it's over. And this anti-Semitism will not end quickly, and it will get more heinous before it stops. So each of us must find ways to take as much off our shoulders as possible, to connect with community, to learn, to advocate, to cry, to hope. We can each do our part to sow seeds of more love and kindness, understanding and compassion. You don't have to take on the world, my wife keeps telling me. But do your part in one little place. To be a Jew is tikva, hope. To be a Jew is yizkor, to remember. To be a Jew is to believe and to work for the betterment of our world, for a better day. One day, goodness will come again. And until then, we'll light candles of memory. We'll light candles of Shabbos and hope. May it come speedily. And let us say, Amen. Let's turn in our prayer books to page 294. Please rise. For one nefesh, one soul, times 1,400. For one nefesh, one soul, times all those who have lost their lives since. One nefesh, one soul for each of the soldiers we've lost defending Israel. One nefesh, one soul for all those we are remembering. And along with those we lost of our people, some of you are remembering your loved ones at this moment. As together on page 294 we say, Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divarach chirutei v'yamlichma chutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ul'olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran be'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shloma rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav, u'ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace bring peace on high to us, to all Israel and all the world, as we say together, Amen. Please be seated. Tomorrow night, Sunday morning, Rabbi Lana will travel to Medinat Yisrael, to Eretz Yisrael, to our Holy Land. Not ostensibly, for one purpose, to receive her second ordination. She was ordained by the Shalom Hartman Institute and became a rabbi. She's now being ordained by Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, the Reform Movement Seminary. And she'll still be a rabbi. But she's going back home to see, to witness, to connect, to refresh, to rejuvenate. She goes we're taught that if you are a shlichat tzedakah, if you're an agent to do tzedakah, you are watched over, even that much more as you travel to do that good work and come back. And that's why you'll see people who know someone's going on a trip giving someone $1, $5, $20. We're sending her with a couple of $1,000 from our Israel Emergency Fund to figure out where to donate, and then we will send it. And we also send her off with a blessing. And I'm going to ask for your help with that. The number one blessing is safety. So let's all agree to that. But let's add other words of blessing also. I'll start, And if you have some words, just raise your hand. We're not looking for a sermon. We're looking for a couple of words that will add to this blessing. Rabbis love to bless others. Boy, do we hate being blessed. But she'll get back at me at some point in time. And so, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, we ask you to bless our teacher, our friend, part of our Or Ami family, Lana, with blessings, enduring blessings. We especially ask for. Raise your hand if you have. Shalom, peace. Love and safety. Comfort. Courage. Health. Hope. A meaningful ordination. Enlightenment. Pride. Friends. Support. Strength. The blessings of the Holy One. Healing. Courage. Strength. May you, as you return home, and then return back to this home, and then go back and forth many times over these next years, may you be refilled and refreshed. May your tears fall. They will be your tears and our tears along with you. Open your eyes and be a witness for us and come back and teach us. Open your heart, share the love, be a vessel for the love from this community. May God bless you as you go and as you come back. And we all together say, Amen.
Thank you all. We talked about memory, and we did memory, and we talked about hope, and we will end with the words of hope. And it's not a coincidence that Israel's national anthem is hope, Hatikva. As I shared earlier, it feels like we're drowning, and it's really difficult to see the safe land. But we must believe that we will get to the safe land. And the only way to do that is to hold on to the hope. As long as deep in the heart the soul of a Jew yearns, and forward to the east, to Zion, an eye looks, our hope will not be lost, the hope of 2,000 years to be a free nation in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. Please rise and join us as we sing these words in Hebrew.
On page 374. 374.
חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים.
We will do Motzi and Kiddush out in the foyer Tomorrow morning we have Torah study as we have our second time to look at a new Reformed translation of the Torah for new commentary coming out. 8:30, come as you are. Help us pilot this translation for the Reform movement. More things going on. Check the email, the websites. Join us out there for Motzin Kiddush. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Before you go, it'll be good for them. Ashkoch.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.